long, got to keep. But now everybody knows, got to keep.
You don't have to be retired to receive tax-free income. The problem is the vehicles that we've been conditioned to believe to help get us there were never designed to produce income.
Got to keep going. What you want to be going, you will see. It's your destiny, be in harmony. We were never meant to be apart. What you want to be going, you will see. You can have everything you want. It's your destiny, be in harmony. Ooh.
If you had a machine in your garage and all you had to do was put a quarter in it and it printed out $100, put a quarter in it, printed out $100, would you ever stop that machine from running?
But now everybody knows.
So what if you use that job that you hate as leverage to fill your machine so they can create income for you, so you don't have to worry about income?
You know where the world is gonna go. But now everybody knows that you can't stop for too long. Got to keep going.
Welcome, everyone. Get in here. We're kind of changing the subject briefly from the velocity banking conversation, because what good is reducing debt if you're not building wealth? We say that all the time over here. And so we have to start shifting the conversation as we are shifting our community into wealth building. Some of the communities that we've tapped into, and you've just recently presented at real estate community. We have these conversations a lot, being that 90% of the people that you serve are real estate investors. So, well, if you're new here, I'm Angelique Stidham.
Oh, and I'm Donnell.
And our goal is to help you get self-directed, take control. This is a movement. This is a mindset. These are strategies to put you in the driver's seat so that you are in control of your financial future. And today we're tackling a critical issue in the current real estate market, the rise of corporate landlords. These big players are snapping up homes, driving up rental prices, and making it a whole lot tougher for individual investors like you and us to compete. But don't worry. We're here to show you how to fight back and win big using your retirement funds. What?
Absolutely.
How is that even possible? We're going to show you how. So stick around. We'll reveal the secret strategies that can give you the upper hand in today's competitive market. And why is this so important to talk about right now, Donnell?
And it's interesting, you mentioned yesterday, right? So we were in a room of maybe 50 people or so, kind of helping them understand how they can take advantage of some of their the tools that they have accessible to them, but maybe not realizing how it can be used to be able to participate in real estate. And so you're right. There is a large, I'll call it, influx of single family homes, properties being purchased by these corporate companies. Why is that? Corporate institutions, rather. Why is that? Like, what's actually happening? And so I want to dig into, some of the, I'll call it, the backstory behind what's actually going on, but also how we can get out in front of it, how we can beat it, how we can we talk about this a lot. There are three owls, right? There are banks, insurance companies, and financial institutions. It's not that they're bad. It's that, hey, they have information that maybe we don't have. And so just by taking a different direction, adjusting things just a little bit, maybe we can participate in this game the same way they are. Meaning, how about we become them? What does it look like when we become the bank? What does it look like when we become these corporate financial institutions that are buying up these single family homes? Because we can do it too.
Yeah. And how did they get so big? And why did they suddenly turn to real estate? If we would have known these strategies 12, 16 years ago, this would have been a game changer for most people. But there are a lot of myths around jumping into investing in real estate. There are a lot of myths around just buying property in general. So I think tonight we're going to first kind of uncover what this strategy is and why it is so underutilized. insane how underutilized it is and how so many people don't even know to talk about it. Most people talk about it as a self-directed IRA, but we're going to show you we're going to show you what you don't see because people aren't talking about it. The other part is just to debunk some myths around real estate investing for those who have some of these already pre-programmed in their mind and have counted themselves out. Something like these corporations taking over and just mopping up whole towns, really, they have the leverage to be able to do this, which is already a key that I've given away. However, you can too, and there are a lot of smaller groups that are making this possible for individual investors and small people who just want to be able to understand the process so that they can get in the game. Who needs a place to live? Everybody, right? And that's why real estate is one of the top markets and most misunderstood markets in terms of why somebody should or how somebody could get involved. So that's what we're going to talk about. Are you ready to jump in?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's go. And by the way, thanks. We see you all in the chat. Thank you so much for jumping in here. We hope that you learned something. If you have a question, put a Q in front of it so that we can more easily address it. What else? We also say, we just really appreciate you being here. So let us know if you get value from this. And if you want to see more topics like this, at the end of the this next segment, we're going to do a live Q&A, and that is when we will pull your questions in. So let's get into it. Here we go.
So as discussed, we cover a lot of subjects, right? We cover mainly self-directed retirement accounts, but what does that mean? What does it mean to become self-directed? What does it mean to be able to take control? Well, there's a few different strategies that we talk through. And this weekend, we spent a fair amount of time talking about this one right here. So how to use your self-directed retirement account to be able to invest in non-traditional investments like real estate. Now, there are many other vehicles that we talk through, but today I just wanted to kind of, I'll call it, extend some of the conversations that I was having yesterday related to what's going on in the market. So what's actually happening? So what's happening is there are some pretty significant or pretty large corporations buying up real estate, and they're buying it up from up under the middleman, meaning most of us who are looking to be able to get into our home for get into a home for the first time, we're finding that, you know what, it's becoming a little bit difficult. And so who is it that's kind of jumping in front of us? So it's corporate landlords like Blackstone and Invitation Homes, and in addition, there are some significant buyers out there. And what are they buying? Like, what's actually happening? Well, what's happening is, oops, I didn't mean to do that. They're doing about 35 to about 1,500 to about 3,500 rather. 1,500 to about 3,500 per month is what's happening, meaning these corporations are buying up about 1,500 to 3,500 homes per month, like pulling it right out from under us. And in addition to that, as a result, the rents are increasing. These rents are jumping up to about, I think there's some places where rents are jumping up 31%. I want to say here in Arizona, I think I've seen numbers around 22, 24, 28, but in other areas, it's significantly more than that. And so how is this coming about? How is this even happening? Like, what's actually happening? How are they going about it? Well, what's happening is, obviously, they have capital. These corporations have capital that maybe you and I don't have. And so they're outbidding us. They're beating us to the punch. And in addition, they're putting down large sums of cash to start. So why wouldn't a buyer take advantage of the cash up front versus financing through us? And then it's also the type. What's interesting, when we were kind of digging into this, what I found interesting was the type of homes that's actually being purchased by these corporations isn't what you think. They're actually out here buying distressed homes in distressed neighborhoods. They're buying I'll call it the lower income single family homes that usually a first time buyer would be getting into. So they're buying up, again, instead of them buying up the larger, more expensive homes, they're buying up the smaller homes. And what that's forcing us into a situation where the rents are being increased. And so even though we aren't necessarily in a position to be able to compete at the moment, we don't think, what's happening is they're actually going after the types of homes, types of properties that we should be able to participate in. So how do we kind of guard against this? Like, what are some of the actions that we can take to compete with what's happening Oh, hold on. To compete with what's happening inside of this market. And it goes back to becoming self-directed. It goes back to having more control. How can you put yourself in a position so that you can have more control over what you have today? And so I wanted to highlight something, and that is the differences between a self-directed IRA and just a traditional IRA. Because I don't know if you know it or not, but both of these vehicles, even though they're different, both of these vehicles, you can actually participate in this process of beating some of these corporate entities to the punch in investing in real estate. So with a self-directed IRA, you can do it directly. And I'll get into what that means. But with a self-directed IRA, you would have to go indirect, meaning through a REIT. So you can actually participate in other funds and other, I'll call it real estate investment trusts to be able to invest in real estate using a traditional IRA with like a Fidelity, Vanguard. A lot of those have those REIT funds that you can actually participate in. But if you're looking to be able to participate directly, you would have to do that strictly through a self-directed IRA. So let's just kind of talk about how is that even possible? What is it about a self-directed IRA that makes that even possible? And hold on, let me get over here. And what that looks like is a self-directed IRA is very similar to an IRA, meaning it's structured just the same, with one exception. A self-directed IRA has the proper structure, proper design for you to be able to invest outside of the stock market. The IRA that you have with a Fidelity or Vanguard does not. It is not equipped to be able to step outside and buy properties even if you wanted to. Now, a self-directed IRA does have to have a custodian. It does require a custodian to administer, but it gives you control to be able to invest in non-traditional investments. And what does that structure even look like? Meaning, how is it created? How is it built? Well, for a self-directed IRA, it has to have checkbook control. For a self-directed IRA, once we create the brand new IRA and move your previous funds from Fidelity or Vanguard into that new IRA, the IRA itself has to create an LLC. So in order for your IRA to be able to be structured properly to buy properties, invest in non-traditional investments, it has to create an LLC, meaning the funds inside of this IRA has to purchase this LLC. And once that's done, that LLC then has an EIN number. We take that EIN number, open up a checking account, and then you're able to move the funds from the IRA into the checking account of the LLC, which now gives you full control over those funds. Full control to do what though? Full control to then invest in what you want. Now, today, what we're talking about is real estate in the form of single family homes, rental properties, I'll call it starter homes, even that, when you're fresh out of college, finally got your job, now you're able to enter into your first home purchase, and these corporations are picking them up. You can actually leverage and or use your self-directed retirement account to become them, to participate, to compete with them. And why is that, or how is that? Because now you're able to function similar to the way they do with using large sums. And what it ultimately boils down to is, where are we focused? If we're going to participate in this process and leverage or use leverage from our self-directed IRA to be able to compete against some of these larger companies, these larger corporations, we have to focus in specific markets. We have to be very particular as to where we invest those funds. And we have to partner. And in most cases, most of us, even if we have an IRA or some type of self-directed retirement account to be able to invest, a better question is, do you have the funds available to be able to compete against these corporations in these markets? So how do you go about it? Well, you go about it by, one, focusing on the areas where they may not be looking, because who knows your neighborhood better than you? And then in addition, there are local contractors, there's local REI groups, there's other investors, and there's property managers that may have some of the information that you don't. And 9 times out of 10, just in being in this space for a while, sometimes knocking on the door is the best approach. Because even though you might be competing against a corporation, sometimes in these smaller niche markets, sometimes just knocking on the door will allow you to have a foot up or a place ahead of those corporations, because they just want the dollar. So they're just looking for the property. Whereas there's an opportunity to build a relationship and partner using your self-directed retirement account and some of these other, I'll call it partners in general, to be able to accomplish your goal. And one thing I wanted to note here, this isn't all encompassing, meaning this isn't everyone. What if your self-directed IRA also partnered with others who have self-directed IRAs? What if your IRA partnered with others who have self-directed retirement accounts just like you? Then that allows you to have more capital to be able to put forth. Go ahead, sweetheart.
Well, there was something that I wanted to point out.
Previous slide.
Yeah, it was the list of corporate. Yeah, and I know that we're in the way, but that part doesn't matter. Just look at the number of
Right.
corporations that this isn't even in every state. This is just in a list from really just a few states. There are many, many, many companies. The one thing I wanted to point out was in Atlanta. What was the number? Because I can't see it right now.
190 LLCs between them in
So,
Gwinnett, and that's just hold on, but that's just in Gwinnett County.
right. So in one county, there are 190 LLCs. What does this mean? If you're renting from these people and you're trying to take them to court, or you're trying to find out who it is that you need is representing this company, whether or not they are being slumlords or not, because they really don't care about you. This is not about people, right? This initiative is not about people. The problem is that they're so buried, LLC under in stacks of them, that it's really hard to track down where the mothership is. Of course, it's not hard for the IRS to track this down, right? But it's hard for an individual to track this down, whether or not it's to sue, like if something bad had happened in your lease agreement, or the property that you are renting. The point that I'm trying to make, though, is the power that they have because they're so bridged and networked together across multiple states too. A lot of people are just getting frustrated, and they're thinking to themselves and assuming, like, how could I participate in any of this? Right. When you and I were driving around St. Louis, for instance, we were looking at, because whenever we drive around a new city, I always have Zillow open. It's like my toxic trait is just looking at what area we're in and what the property values are or were before we got there. So when we were downtown St. Louis, we were doing this. Our kids wanted to do a vintage clothing tour. What was it called? It was like something like that, a tour.
Oh yeah, it's like a
It was like a chain of stores that had a map. So you went from one, they all had the map to like help promote each other or whatever. So you kind of like do this little tour. And while we were doing that, of course, we were in like different areas of town, right? While we were visiting these vintage clothing stores and antique shops. And it's so cool that our kids were super into this because we ended up getting stuff for ourselves, right? But what we got to see were these areas. Some of these areas were homes and neighborhoods that were, let's just say that they might have been $50,000 to $100,000 when they purchased this property a year ago. They went and bought up the whole neighborhood. These houses are now going for $1.2 million. Why? How did that happen? Not just because they bought one, right? But because they bought the whole block and revamped it. Suddenly, because this area was developing, now we can put shops in there. Now we can put resources down in this area that was not thriving before. And now there's culture that has been injected in here for a particular audience. So it makes sense. They're able to do all of these things. Now, is the individual investor able to do all these things? They don't have this type of leverage. If they don't have this type of leverage, no. But knowing that these companies are already going in to do these things, they have the resources to help build that. Why can't you piggyback off of that, right? And that's really what it is understanding. You said it. You said becoming them, and
Right.
how to leverage this in a way that you actually become them. But even better, that they have to put up all the capital to reinstate an entire area. And if you're smart, you're just piggybacking off of the top of that. So it starts with you can jump in while they're getting in once they've identified an area, or you already see that this is already happening, or you can start to identify in your city or in your area, to your point, understanding you being local, you have the advantage
Right.
to be able to get in on some of these. Even if you sit and hold for a moment, then you can sell it for more later without even having to do a thing, because they're going to want that property. They're buying up the whole block, right? These are just some of the things that I'm sure people have these conversations about. And let me know in the chat. Have you ever had this conversation? You're talking with your spouse, you're talking with your friends, and you're like, you know what we should do? This just seems smart. The only difference between you and someone else doing it is that they took the action. That's it. And they understand how to empower themselves and these moves and the timing of these moves, because they had access to leverage. And that's what we're talking about tonight, is having access to leverage, because that is the only difference. The experience in identifying an area, all of those things are, I feel like, benefit or a gift when you have a sizable company like this and you have a corporate budget in this way. But if you are able to jump in, why not? But how you do it matters.
And and the reason I kind of increased the size of this list, because understand that REI right there, that this is a trust. So when I talk about directly or indirectly being able to invest or participate in a process like this, if you have an IRA with a Fidelity or Vanguard, you absolutely are able to participate in a Pretium or Amherst. I think these are also REITs as well. So there are some specific vehicles that you can actually get into to understand how it works. And then you can become them. You don't need them. You can absolutely become them.
You know what I really do appreciate, though, there are communities that we serve as well. We get to go to these events where they start to learn this educational side of the deal. So investing with them means that you don't have to do the work, but you still get to learn what the process is. That to me is probably like cream of the
gold.
crop. Yeah.
It's gold.
Yeah, I really appreciate those who are putting communities together like that. And then this way they get to use their experience. You're not having to find contractors and get inspections done. You don't have to do any of that. And I think that's one of the myths that we're going to debunk later, is what actually is required of you if you were to entertain this idea or jump in. For some of you, you're going, no, I'm already in the industry. I want to learn how to become them and have that kind of power. You're gonna get that here too. But for other people, they're going, well, I've dipped my toe, or I'm just right there on the fence and I don't have the confidence yet that I can do this. And I think you will by the end of the stream.
So it's interesting. And Veronica's comment here, I'll pull it up real quick, stated in Jersey, the rent for a one bedroom is now $1,800 a month. It reminded me of a text that you had sent me a few days ago related to properties up for rent in our neighborhood. And there was,
Oh,
what is it,
right.
a 6-bedroom home for $8,500 a month.
Yeah, 8,500. And we were like, okay, we're going to move. We're moving, we're renting. I'm glad that you brought this up, because I really do want to show what we found here. I felt like this was such a good thing, like a representation of what's happened in the last 5 years, just in different states. So she's talking about New Jersey, right? That's what she was talking about. And when you see the differences, I don't know, can you guys see this? Maybe I need to increase it. There we go. That's probably better. If you can see the differences in some areas, it's not as big as others, but just in the last 5 years, and also you can see the value in 1 year ago. I can't circle it for you, but you can see it, right, guys? Some of these areas aren't that big of a jump. It's still a jump. It's still significant everywhere.
Right.
But you start to really go on the East and the West Coast, and you start to see these numbers really jump high.
And
So,
correct me if I'm wrong, because maybe you said it, but this is within a 5-year span, correct?
well, it says value today, value 1 year ago, value 5 years ago.
Okay, so yeah, 1 year ago, 5 years ago, got it.
Yeah. So you
I
can
can't
even,
read it from here. That's the reason I was asking.
yeah, neither can, I wouldn't be able to either if it wasn't big on my screen. So, but yeah, I hope you guys can see this so that you can see the difference just in some of the states that you probably wouldn't have imagined. I think everybody understands what happened in California, right? Everybody understands that. But what's interesting out of this is what's happening in various states. This is not a statewide thing. I'm gonna show you what I mean in just a second. So Nevada doesn't seem like it's that much, right? Doesn't seem like it's that much. Arizona doesn't even seem like it's that
Right.
much. But certain
Comparatively, right.
areas, yeah, certain areas have more than doubled. Our area, for instance, more than doubled in value in this last 4 years. So it's not Rob said your glasses need glasses, both of you.
Man.
Facts. It's not necessarily a state thing. It isn't with any real conversation around real estate. It's location, right?
Right.
So it's definitely location does matter, but just overall, what is the market doing? What has it been doing? And what will it do? We don't have a crystal ball to be able to. So I just wanted to show you guys this. You can go on Forbes.com, look up, let's see here. What's the title of this article? Housing market predictions for 2024. There it is. When will prices be affordable again? When we make it such. We can't control that part, but what we can control are what we own and what else we're building. There are things that we can control. And of course, we talk a lot about that here on this channel in terms of wealth building, but we cannot control the real estate market. What we can do though, is we can get in instead of complaining about it. Everybody needs a place to live. We can get in and not be victim to this. So I'll remove this here. Not be victim to these corporations.
And I think in addition, as you were kind of sliding around those states, that Midwest, South area, excluding Florida, but that Midwest and that Southern area, that's that main space where, there are these little niche pockets of communities where you can actually, if there was a time, now is the time to take advantage of what those home prices are, because to your point, the difference between 5 years ago and today, or 5 years ago and a year ago, is really under $100,000 or within $50,000 in some cases, versus the Californias and those other markets where we're talking not just more than double. There are some places that even tripled, right? So
yeah,
it's pretty ridiculous.
Before you jump into the self-directed part and using your retirement account to be able to jump in, because that is important. But for some people, they're going like, why do I care? Why would I do this versus just put it in the money market? Like, to me, it's potato. I don't care where it goes. I'm not going to be involved in real estate, and I don't want to have to learn this. For some people, they go, gosh, I went to a conference or convention to learn how to get involved, and I'm overwhelmed. Like, I have a regular job that I have to do. I can't also learn this too, right? The conversation really starts to hit home when you look into the future. And that's why I wanted to bring this up. It's the why. Why does this matter? Why does it matter to pay attention to what these corporations are doing? Why does it matter to you? No matter who you are, it matters because if you are ever planning to raise a family, if you're currently raising a family, if you have already raised a family and that family is going to be growing, then you know that those persons within your lineage, they're going to need some place to live. If we do not build or own property, then we are at the mercy of whoever decides or determines the rental values, right? The cost of living is already so high, and we are seeing that with our kids who are in their early 20s, and they're just, trying to get up and on their feet. We see now the difference in when we got started, when we were their age, to now what the cost of living is. When you look at debt to income ratio or cost of living to income ratio, they are always priced out. How will they get a leg up if they don't have help, if they don't have leverage from their parents? Think forward 10, 15, 20 years from now, and how can you even imagine how hard it's going to be for them to get in the game. How hard, if it's already this difficult for people to become homeowners in 2024, imagine what that is going to look like in 2034, 2044. They're only getting more leverage. And who cares what other people are doing? This is really you. If you're listening to this, then you're here because you care about leveling up. You care about building wealth. You are trying to take the steps and educate yourself, and that's why we're talking about this. We can't say, if you fit this profile, this isn't for you. We have watched people go from being flat broke to having a huge net worth. We'll just say that. In a matter of a couple of years, just simply because they had access to information. And that is why we're out here talking about this, because we know how powerful it can be. And it doesn't matter if anybody else in your family or anybody else in your circle is involved in any of this. We have watched people take leaps by themselves and change their entire the trajectory of their families just simply because of information. Now comes leverage. You have information, now you can start to not only take advantage of leverage that you currently have that you probably didn't even know you had, two, then you can know how to increase it so that you can make bigger, bolder moves. And so that's what we're really talking about. But the why is so important, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, because some people are going, why are they talking about this? What's the point? The point is that we have to understand when opportunities come to us, we have to, first be able to identify them as opportunities, right? And understand that they are opportunities. Then we have to understand how to take advantage of them. That's really the only difference. We've seen this happen with other people. They see something and they go, wow, I can't believe a coin, for instance, right? We just see this coin, a penny, a quarter, whatever it is. We have no idea that the coins that we have, probably some of them have been worth so much more than their proposed value to us, right? Anyway, right? So that's just one example of having information that somebody else doesn't have, where they would go cash in on that and we would just use it at the convenience store or the grocery store like it was just a penny or a quarter, right? So that the why do you need to know this stuff is important. This one particular market is never going to go away because we always need somewhere to live. Everybody needs somewhere to live. So this is for anyone who is renting and who is not yet a homeowner. You can leverage this information too. If you are already a homeowner, then you know that we talk about a multitude of ways that you can leverage your equity and what is actually available to you and how you can use that in various ways to supercharge your wealth building journey. Okay, so anything else you want to add to that?
Absolutely, because let's peel that back a little bit. Because you said it very, very well. I just want to make sure we dig into some of the nuance associated with it as well. Meaning, we are in the midst, as we all know, we are in the midst of the largest transfer of wealth this country has ever seen. But no
Right.
one really ever talks about the actual numbers and where those numbers are. We talk a lot on this channel about the wealth equation versus the investment equation. Most of us who have retirement dollars, it's tied up in the investment equation. What does that mean? Well, that means, when the market is doing great, your retirement account's doing great, but when the market's not, you're not. And so what ends up happening is your livelihood, your income in the future is based on what that market is or isn't doing. So the best thing you can do is reduce or eliminate risk. Well, how do you reduce or eliminate risk as it relates to your retirement account? You have to move it from where it is into and put it in a position to where it's maybe not risk adverse or risk free. Maybe it's less risky. So the reason we're talking about this subject is, so then where do I put it? How do I get my money out of the market? Number one. Okay, we talked about that. Then where do I put it? Well, in some cases, in a lot of cases, these investment vehicles as it relates to real estate are less risky than the stock market based accounts that they're currently invested in. But again, let's peel that back still a little bit further. We're in the midst of the largest transfer of wealth. How much though?
Yeah.
Well, between now and I think it's 2045, between now and 2045, there's a total of somewhere around $84 trillion being transferred. 84 trillion with a T. Well, 72 trillion of that is being passed down to heirs. meaning people like you and me, we are going to receive this transfer of wealth throughout this period, whether it's companies, businesses, real estate, portfolios, doesn't matter. It's about $72 trillion of wealth. Well, let's peel that back a little bit further. Of that 72 trillion, there's approximately 38 to 40 trillion dollars tied up in just Fidelity and Vanguard. Now, we know there's other institutions out there, but Fidelity and Vanguard alone hold $40 trillion. Do you anticipate that $40 trillion doing better or worse in a vehicle like that, meaning in the investment equation versus you having access or understanding how to access that 40 trillion to be able to put that money in a better position to generate wealth? So if we don't understand where to put it, we end up leaving it where it is, and then it ends up turning into something that we can't control. It gets decimated by fees, it gets decimated by the market, whatever the case may be, versus understanding, hey, there's an opportunity for you to be able to self-direct or control or have more control over those dollars and put them in a better position to be able to work for you.
Yeah, well, and I'll add to that 529 plans. People put their money in a vehicle like that, and then their kids don't want to go to school or they get a scholarship or whatever the case is. But the majority of those parents are now facing that their kids don't want to go to school. They would rather not, and they would rather not waste the money. They also don't want to start off in debt. So even if those accounts can't pay for the entire 4 years, some of them say, hey, I want to do it, go to a trade school. I want to go somewhere else. I have this other opportunity. I wanted to start my own business, whatever it is. Some of those parents now are facing, well, now that you can Rothicize it and roll it over, that's a good thing, but it's still stuck and it's still not liquid and it's still not leverageable in the same way to be able to take advantage of an opportunity when it comes. You still have those gatekeepers that are in a position to tell you yes or no, whether or not you can or cannot do something. Those people are not looking at what is best for you with your situation, with what it is that you're trying to build with your family, yada, yada. They're not looking at that. So their yes or no, let's just take that out of the equation as well. We have to be able to have control moving forward. But to your point, what good is all of the money? What good is all of the leverage? What good is all of the control if we don't understand what to do with it and the moves and the confidence to make those decisions? So that's really what we've been talking about in terms of these retirement funds, just simply because should you keep your money that you currently have in there if you're getting the match? Why not? But for a lot of people, there are millions of dollars unclaimed in previous employer 401ks because that was a good idea then, but then you moved and got a raise, got a promotion, had a better opportunity, right? And you took action on that. What happens to that and what can you do with it? Well, today we're talking about how to jump in and compete with these corporations who are eating up whole towns, pretty much, and how you can piggyback off of that and win big because of it. So you can use your retirement funds and leverage them as well to be able to jump into this market. And that's really exciting if you think about it that way, because then it takes you from feeling like, I'm small, I'm little, I'm vulnerable out here, to actually that's quite clever and I'm ready for it. So, and I think that they also are not going to see this coming if people level up in this way and they just get educated to be able to take advantage of this. It's going to end up costing them more to complete their initiative because people could even just buy and hold in an area, and they have to have all of the pieces of the puzzle in order for this to work. That's just facts. So that movie Up is a great example, and there's a lot of people like that who held right until that property became so valuable that they went, okay, well, we'll pay you even more than all of these homes just to be able to complete this project. That's what we're looking at now. We're going to see a lot of those because, to your point, they are looking at these areas that right now look like who would want that?
Right.
Who would want to buy that? So, that's a good sign. That's a good thing for people who are paying attention. Okay, you ready to jump back in?
Yep.
Okay, let's go.
And so from here, what we ultimately wanted to do was just kind of highlight some of the myths that I ran into a fair amount of them on Saturday. But in addition, I think we just kind of talked through a few of them as well. And that is the first one being, hey, I got to be an expert to do this, and I'm not. Like, why would I want to participate in something like this? Because I don't fully understand what it is I'm doing or how to go about it. And the truth is, and I think we can kind of group some of these together. Self-directed IRA, they're only for the wealthy. Was a question I received yesterday. And then the last one, investing with the self-directed IRA is too complicated. And here's the key. And we focus heavy on this subject on this channel. It's all about having the right knowledge. So we give information away. None of this information costs you anything. We give this information away so that you can understand if we provide the right knowledge and what are those vehicles. Not all IRAs are the same. Not all self-directed retirement accounts are the same. It is important that not only you identify the right vehicle, but also how that vehicle is structured. So we provide the right knowledge, we provide the right vehicle so that you can accomplish this goal. And then I'll skip 4 and I'll jump down to 5. And you need a lot of money to be able to invest. That's not true either. Because the cool part about a self-directed retirement account, specifically a self-directed IRA or a self-directed 401k, is just because you don't have enough in your IRA doesn't mean, and I'll make this bigger, doesn't mean you can't leverage and or borrow against that IRA to be able to invest in what you want. Meaning, I think there was a comment that I vaguely saw as we were switching over, and it was, hey, can we group together and invest in and create our own REIT? I think was kind of how it
Yep.
was asked. And here's the truth about that. The short answer is yes. My self-directed IRA can partner with Sequia's self-directed IRA, who can partner with Rob's self-directed IRA all at the same time. And again, when we're partnering together, that gives us a much larger vehicle to be able to invest from, to be able to purchase larger properties, and to be able to satisfy or support more families. But in addition, our IRAs can walk into a bank and our IRAs can borrow money from a bank. So, and again, if it's a self-directed retirement account or a retirement account in general that is leveraging money from a bank, that bank is not allowed to run your credit. That bank is not allowed to look at your DTI. Your credit score has nothing to do with this opportunity when we are using leverage or when we're requesting leverage to support our retirement account in buying a property. It's called a non-recourse loan. Won't necessarily dig into the details of that today, but the bottom line is a non-recourse loan is how we would go about being able to accomplish that goal. And so to kind of jump into the last question, which is actually question number 4, and that is a self-directed IRA the best option? And I get this a lot. Self-directed IRAs actually are not the best option. But why don't we know this already? What is it about an IRA that, again, if you were to type into Google self-directed IRA, you would see hundreds of banks, hundreds of credit unions that offer a self-directed IRA. Why is that? Well, it's because self-directed IRAs are actually pretty easy to create. And because they're pretty easy to create, and I kind of mentioned that earlier when we were talking about how you structure a self-directed IRA, IRAs require custodial support. So what's a custodian? IRAs require a bank. It requires someone to manage this process for you. Well, when you include a bank into this process, you're now introducing fees. So what that means is with the self-directed IRA, the bank or the custodian that you are with gets to nickel and dime you for fees. So they love self-directed IRAs. And we've been conditioned to believe that self-directed IRA is the best way to go. But there's a better way. And that better way is a self-directed 401k. Looks like I'm on the half screen, sweetheart.
Yeah, I thought I was doing something special here. Sorry, guys.
It's all right.
All right. Here, we'll go back. There you are.
Thank you, darling. I'll make it a little bit smaller. So a self-directed 401k, I'm sorry, is actually better. What is it about a self-directed 401k that makes it a better vehicle than a self-directed IRA? Well, a 401k is actually a pension plan. A 401k is actually structured as a trust. And so therefore, it has the capabilities already built into it. Again, we talk a lot about structure on this channel. It already has the structure required for you to be able to have control over your retirement dollars. You don't need support from a custodian or a bank in order for you to be able to invest in what you want. So a self-directed IRA is already set up, already structured so you can do what you need to do. And because it's self-directed and it's a pension plan, it also allows you to be able to invest in the non-traditional investments. So how do we create those? What does that look like? Well, from a self-directed 401k perspective, in order to create one, we have to move those funds from that current or previous custodian and move them into a brand new self-directed 401k. Self-directed 401ks have their own EIN number. And as a result, we take that EIN number, again, without having to create an LLC inside the retirement account. The retirement account already has the proper structure. It is already comes equipped with its own EIN number. And then we take that EIN number, open up a checking account. You now have full checkbook control over those 401k dollars. But it doesn't stop there. Still, what makes a 401k better than an IRA? Well, when you talk about investing in real estate, in most cases, the amount of money you have in your retirement account isn't sufficient. So you end up having to borrow. You end up having to use leverage elsewhere to be able to complete or to execute the process. And from there, you get impacted by this little thing called UBIT, unrelated business income tax, UBIT, unrelated business income tax. It only affects real estate leveraged using an IRA, whether that's a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA, doesn't even matter. And UBIT is a 35 to 37% tax on your profit. This example is saying if you had $100,000 in your Roth IRA and you borrowed $100,000 from a non-recourse lender, and you bought a property for $200,000 and you happen to sell that $200,000 property for $300,000, you made $100,000 profit, which is awesome. But because you borrowed $100,000, meaning 50% of the purchase price came from a non-recourse lender, then you're now taxed at 35 to 37% on the profits that you made. Versus if you would have just simply used even a traditional 401k, not a Roth 401k, but just a traditional 401k and did the exact same action, no UBIT. So just by having a self-directed 401k alone is like getting a 35 to 37% increase in your profit by just having one. So
Wait,
my point, go ahead, sweetheart.
is it
You
okay
know
if
I'll
we
be
stay
moving.
here? Yeah.
I'll be moving. So.
Is it okay if I stay here?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. This is why I want to bring this up. There are a lot of real estate conventions that happen throughout the year. We get invited to a lot. Some of them we turn down. Some of them we're able to go. We don't go to ones in particular that try to promote the solo or self-directed IRA. We talk a lot about why people only talk about the self-directed IRA and they don't mention the self-directed 401k or that it's even an option. We recently had reached out to a couple of events that we said, hey, we see that you guys have this, because my thought was we need to get the word out that this exists, right? Why?
Financial Freedom Tour.
The Financial Freedom Tour, right? So I had reached out to a couple of these events and I'm going, hey, we're already traveling all around, so we will be in your area, or we could be in your area this year. When I said we have something that we have a different angle. So yes, we can educate on self-directed IRAs in terms of how to invest in real estate. However, we focus heavily on structuring from a self-directed 401k standpoint and what the benefits are and why you should be structured in this way. The response that I got was that they were already partnered with self-directed IRA companies. Not only do they choose for that information only to be shared at this conference, whatever agreement they have with this company matters more to them than the people who are paying to come to this conference, right? I don't think we will ever go to those types of conferences. So now I have like a list of places we will not go.
Okay, Santa Claus.
Be my naughty list. Because the relationships that they have with these people is more important than being correct, than giving them the information that they actually need. This is why I'm bringing it up right now. Because how many people paid $10,000 to go to some of these conferences to learn how to invest in multifamily, how to invest in fix and flips, whatever the entity is, right? But they had somebody coming in talking about their IRA, not because this is how to structure yourself in the best way possible, but because this is how we can get access to your retirement funds, right? Because this is how we can make the most money off of you. Because who benefits? Because somebody's benefiting, or multiple people are benefiting by them structuring these conferences in this way and only giving you access to this information. Why wouldn't these same people be talking about a 401k? Because I promise you, when you go to this conference and then you make a move after this conference. So let's say you found a property and you invested in this property and then you get hit. And you had no idea that this was a thing. Why would they tell you about this? Why would they tell you about this?
Well,
so these
most don't even know.
they're going to find out, though. That's my point. They're going to find out.
Right. That's the part.
So then you go back and you say, hey, hold on a second. I did everything that you said, but you never said I was going to have 37% tax on 50% of my profit. What was the point of doing all of that? What was the point? This was so time consuming for me to learn all this stuff and then go through all these steps. And then now I have to cut Uncle Sam this huge check and I've paid you fees on top of that. Are you kidding me right now? What are they going to say? What are they going to say? Oops. Is it going to make a difference? This is why it's so frustrating to be out here with others who are educating on these topics, because they are not giving you this information on purpose. And it's so frustrating for us to come in and say, hey, we would just like to do something different. We would like to offer this value to your audience. And they say, no, we don't want them to have that. Okay. What am I going to do? Run an ad to their audience and say, hey, by the way, here are the email threads with this person who doesn't want you to have this information. We're whistleblowers, but we're not trying to be out here getting on anybody's hit list. You know this information now because you tune in, and we appreciate everybody who shares this out with other people, because you have to know this stuff, or you blindly walk in trusting somebody who you don't understand how they benefits. But to your question, you always tell people the first question to ask is, how do they benefit, right?
That's it. And
yeah.
I also want to make sure this is clear as well, because I talk a lot about how much better the 401k is than the IRA. But there are some of us out here who have to have an IRA. So the reason I share this information is you should understand all of the facets associated with having the vehicle, meaning there's nothing wrong with having an IRA to invest in what you want. Just understand the impact if you're wanting to be able to use leverage. And a lot of times we're sitting in this room where it's all about leverage. It's all about investing in real estate using a leverage vehicle so that you can accomplish your goal. So if we're going to be in a room where we're talking about how to leverage your IRA, knowing you don't have enough in it, so you're going to have to go get a non-recourse loan, then finish the sentence. Understand the impact of what is going to happen when you do that. Doesn't mean don't do it, but you should at least understand all of the rules, all of the pieces to the puzzle, not just, hey, I can leverage my IRA to go invest in real estate. Hey, awesome. It's also, yes, you can do that and understand the secondary impact as a result, because maybe you might want to switch over to another vehicle. But again, I go back to I have many clients in their late 60s who are not interested in opening or having a business. And so they have to have a Roth IRA or IRA in general to be able to take advantage of some of these opportunities. They just now know, hey, there's an impact if I do.
Some of these people inherited an IRA too.
Oh boy.
So, that's a whole nother conversation when you talk about some people don't have a choice. However, if this is where you're going, if this is what you have access to, an opportunity to buy a franchise, right? Because this applies to a lot of those types of purchases. These corporate investing in real estate, this would apply. So if you're structuring yourself in the same way, but you don't have the same provisions, you don't have the same leverage, those opportunities are not the same for you, and there's much more risk involved. Then you have to just be able to protect yourself. One of those things is in terms of the taxes, the tax penalties that you can pay. Sometimes we talk about the surface math all the time. Sometimes doing the long math to be able to understand what this would look like long term is better, even though in the short term it seems like this, just off of principle, like 12% versus 5%, I'm going to pick 5%, where maybe the way that those fees or the penalties are structured, you end up paying more in the long run and you can't go back. Right. So we talk a lot about being properly structured. That's a big term over here. But we also talk about just understanding the what's available to you. If you know that you're going to have an inheritance coming to you, and this inheritance is going to come in the form of an IRA, you should already know that. Don't you agree? People should already have an idea of what this is. Then it doesn't mean that if you currently have an IRA, which most people do, if their parents had an IRA, then you probably have one, right? If your uncle Jimmy had one, your Uncle Charles, then you probably have one, because every holiday meal or every time you saw them and you asked them for any advice or you heard them talking about it, you just assumed that's what you should need too. Can somebody make a decision? Can they change over if they have already made this decision for themselves? Like they already have an IRA and they want to be able to roll it over into a 401k. Can they do that?
Absolutely. So the cool part about having qualified dollars is you can move money between qualified vehicles, other qualified vehicles, penalty-free, tax-free all day long. Now, there are some steps, there are some rules, there are some hoops that you may have to jump through, but the short answer to that question is yes, I can move from an IRA into a 401k as long as you meet the proper criteria. And as long as we're talking about like for like dollars, meaning traditional dollars in an IRA can be moved to another traditional vehicle with no problem. When we're talking about Roth dollars, we have to be a little bit careful. But again, short answer, yes, you can. We just have to make sure we are checking all the right boxes.
Okay, I'll let you continue now.
So, well, and actually, we're pretty much, like I said, I just wanted to highlight or debunk some of the myths that we've seen that at least that's been shared with me as it relates to this situation around. You know what? I want to participate in this industry. I want to get into this market, but it seems like things are getting swallowed up by what's happening in with all these corporations, kind of swooping up all of the opportunities. Well, how do you put yourself in a position so that you can do and or be the same? So again, the key piece is how you are structured, meaning we can provide the right knowledge, we can provide the right vehicle, but it's really on you to absorb, receive, and so that we can use it to be able to put you in the right position. So if you don't have to be an expert, self-directed IRAs are not for the wealthy. Anyone can have them. Investing with a self-directed IRA is not that complicated, and actually it's kind of used against you as though it is complicated, but in truth, IRAs, individual retirement account, they are glorified savings accounts. The key is, how are they structured? Are they structured for you to be able to invest in what you want? Self-directed IRAs are not necessarily the best option as it relates to investing in real estate, because we want to make sure you're not being impacted by UBIT. And then the last one is, what you have in your IRA, what you have in your retirement account isn't indicative of what you can invest in, because you have the ability to use leverage. You can pool funds with other qualified dollars. You can pool funds with other non-qualified dollars, as long as they are not coming from a disqualified person. A lot of words there. Again, we can dig into the details, but the moral of the story is you can do it. You just have to understand how to go about it. And the last piece I just wanted to highlight here is this. We talk a lot about putting yourself in a position so that you can become these guys, because these guys do not care about you. And we hold them in such high regard because we've been conditioned to. We should understand how they move. How are these financial institutions swooping up all of these properties? What are the steps they are taking to be able to access these properties and put all this cash down to be able to swoop them up from under our nose? Like, what is it they're specifically doing? What are the steps they're taking? Not so we can criticize them, so that we can understand how to do it ourselves. Meaning, let's understand the role these institutions are playing in these processes so that we can do it too. Our objective is to become them, take actions like them, so that we can produce income or wealth the same way they are producing wealth, so that we can take advantage of the same opportunities they have. And ultimately, sweetheart, that is all that I have, unless you wanted to highlight something else. I will say this. There's a lot that I know as it relates to myths associated with processes like this that we haven't even discussed. So I'm very curious if there's an opportunity in the chat to just highlight what are some of the myths I might be missing as it relates to you wanting to be able to leverage and or use your self-directed retirement account, whether IRA or 401k. What are some of those things? What are some of those institutionalized, I'll call it myths that you've run across that you know what you thought they were true, but you're very curious as to whether or not they actually fit in this process or not. So what are some of the myths that I might be missing is my point.
Well, I think in regards to the last one, that you need a lot of money to invest. Sequoia was even saying like, wow, I didn't realize that my retirement account could borrow money from a bank. I didn't even know that these things were possible. So if we can invest together, we can
Commingle?
commingle. I guess that's the best way to say it. If we can do that and go in together on properties, or we could buy up a block together, like all of us together, we can do that. If we do that, then now we've increased our leverage. Is that a smart thing to do? And if someone is thinking, wow, how much money would I need to have? Or are we all going in on one property? There are smaller groups of people who are doing this, but there are other groups of people who have more experience. They have teams in place. They have process and systems in place. This is all automated for them in a sense. So for them, it's just a matter of plugging in the address and then boop, this process starts for them. You get the advantage of being able to say, I only have 30,000, I only have 40,000, I only have 100,000 to jump into this, and I don't want to actually be responsible for all of these tasks involved. I want to go on with my life. I want to go on with my family. I would just want to carry on the way that I've been carried on, but I still want to be involved and I want to understand. That's what I was saying earlier in terms of some of these groups are different in the way that they educate their members along the way. That to me is one of the best benefits, especially if you're new, to be able to jump in, see the benefit, understand and witness the process of everything before you would even try to go out there and do it yourself. You might find it's just a lot more fun for you to be able to be involved, jump in, and watch somebody else do all of the work, and you just get the kickback. You get the percentage, the payments every single month that just go right back into your account. So some of these we don't have to recreate the wheel here. We don't have to start up and find other people. You can if you want to. There's a lot of people that do. But there's also groups and communities that are already formed, and they already have these systems and practices in place. So that should help you sleep at night, knowing that it reduces the risk as well jumping into this. Yes, anybody can get in. There's nothing different about you versus somebody else other than they have information that you don't yet, right? Just yet. That's it. So some of the if you've been to an event that we've attended or you've presented at, then you know that you have gotten a fire hose of information. There's we leave no crumbs when we're there. These communities we can back because we understand that they know that the best thing that they can do is over-educate their people. They can give as much value because the point is not to just have people attend an event and look special and look important. The point is they actually don't like doing events, the majority of them. They like being in the deals. They just know that they need to get out here and educate other people so that they can do more deals. So somebody like that, I think could be a really good fit for a lot of people who are just looking to entry level to jump into this and invest in a REIT, right?
Absolutely. And I think that piece around, hey, I don't have enough. I run into a lot of people who were only with a job or whatever that job was they were with for a few years. And so they might have $5, $10, $15, $20,000 sitting in a previous employer plan, and they've allowed it to sit there and do nothing because they assumed that wasn't enough to really do much.
Right.
Or they went ahead and took the tax and penalty hit for that $10,000, $15,000 because, hey, it's only $10,000, $15,000 versus you know what, if you put that money in a better position, it can actually work and do more for you. So I think you're spot on with all of that.
We have some questions, so I want to pull those up. Rob
Okay.
says, I already have a self-directed IRA set up and invested in REITs. Would I have to liquidate my portfolio IoT transition into self-directed 401k? Thanks.
No, because so here's the cool part about having retirement accounts. You can have as many as you want. You can have as many IRAs and in as many 401ks as you want. Again, there are rules, but you can have as many as you want, which means that self-directed IRA you have, maybe it's invested in some things that are really doing a good job, but you just want to be able to participate or diversify or invest in other things. Then, okay, liquidate what you need and transfer what you need into that self-directed 401k and execute. Now, if we're if we're moving everything from that self-directed IRA into your own self-directed 401k, that's a qualified to qualified transfer, and what you're transferring is the cash. If you want to move properties, we can move properties. We can move actual hard assets. But if you're talking about mutual fund stocks and bonds, the mutual fund stocks and bonds would have to be liquidated in order to move everything over. Now, again, if we're only talking about a portion, if you're talking about wanting to keep both accounts, you can, and you can just liquidate the cash that you want to move over and then self-direct or invest from that 401k. And here's the cool part about keeping both. Let's say you're in REITs that you like. Well, a self-directed 401k is just that. You control how that money is being invested, where it goes. As you are taking action and making an investment, maybe your 401k is empty, meaning you liquidated the 401k to make whatever the investment is. But as the return comes back, as the growth on that investment starts to return back into that checking account, well, it's coming back to a checking account that's doing nothing. It's coming back to a checking account that's just collecting dust. Meaning, as that money comes back into that checking account, if you want it to continue to grow, you have to move it. So, how awesome would it be to then transfer it back into that self-directed IRA where it's with those REITs to continue to grow your funds? So it becomes a vehicle that you can move money back and forth all the time.
Rose has a question too, and I think it's a great question again because understanding how you're structured, then you can see what your opportunities are or are not. Being able to take personal loans is another difference between a self-directed IRA and 401k. So while that money's sitting there, if you wanted to finance a new vehicle or something else and that didn't qualify as an investment that you could make with your self-directed account, you can't borrow from your IRA.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true.
So that's another reason why structure matters. Rose says, are you saying that any pre-tax dollars can be transferred into any pre-tax vehicle regardless of its name, and any post-tax dollars can go into any other vehicle that is a post-tax fund?
A lot there. So let's start with the pre-tax vehicles, and let's be specific. We're talking IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, TSPs, government 457 plans, 401as, SEP IRAs, you name it. These are all considered qualified vehicles. And as long as they have what's called traditional dollars in it or pre-tax dollars in it, you absolutely can move all of these vehicles amongst each other. How do we know that to be true? Well, think about any job you had that may have had a retirement account and you left that job and went to another. In most cases, we've all been able to transfer or roll over the dollars from our previous employer's plan into our new employer's plan, penalty free, tax free. So if you were to create a self-directed IRA or a self-directed 401k, it's no different than you changing employers. It's no different than you moving those funds penalty free, tax free into your new employer plan. It just happens to not be tied to an employer, it's tied to you or maybe your employer, your business. So it's no different. And yes, so any pre-tax dollars can be moved between other accounts, not a problem. When we talk about Roth, though, meaning after tax retirement dollars, when we talk about Roth, they just have it. Roth, you just have to be cautious. Let's just say it that way. Meaning, if you have a traditional IRA and you converted some of the dollars in that traditional IRA to a Roth IRA, meaning you've already paid taxes on those dollars, so now they're sitting in your Roth IRA working for you. Well, if you wanted to transfer those Roth IRA dollars into a self-directed 401k, a self-directed 401k, also known as a solo 401k, is for traditional dollars. So your Roth IRA is after tax. Your self-directed 401k with traditional dollars is pre-tax. No, we cannot move those Roth IRA dollars into the traditional vehicle. Well, here's another rule, and this is just a rule. I didn't make it up as it relates to Roth IRA dollars. Let's say you had a Roth 401k, a self-directed Roth 401k. Can you move those Roth IRA dollars into that self-directed Roth 401k? You cannot. And I don't have a logical reason as to why, but you cannot move Roth IRA dollars into any other vehicle. But let's go the opposite direction. Let's say you've got a self-directed Roth 401k and you wanted to move those self-directed Roth 401k dollars into a self-directed Roth IRA or a regular Roth IRA. You can. So you can move 403b, 403b TSP, government 457 plan, 401k Roth dollars into a Roth IRA, but you can't go the opposite direction with a Roth IRA. And again, I don't have an answer as to why. It is just that way. I think the key piece here is this. Traditional dollars can move anywhere. If you have traditional dollars and you want to know how to take advantage of whatever opportunity and you want to get structured properly, you don't have to remember any of this stuff. Just remember who to talk to. I will step you through all of this because everyone is different. Everyone's situation is different. Because I think this is a great question because some people may have both Roth and traditional dollars in non-traditional vehicles, like maybe it's in a 403b or a TSP. What can you do with it? Understanding what those steps are, again, it's specific to the vehicle, so it may be unique to you. So therefore, you don't have to remember about any of this. Just know who to talk to, and that is just simply get on my calendar. Great question.
That is a great question. And to do that, you can go here to selfdirected.info/live. Self-directed.info itself, you just click on the calendar and then pick the type of appointment and time that's best for you. Speaking of, though, how to get a hold of us. Oh, dang it. It didn't do the cool thing. Well, just didn't do it. This is how you can get a hold of us while we're here live. If you have a question, we've had a couple people text in, so I will read their questions out loud. Some people are tuning in from the TV. We like to tell you that if you are tuning in from TV and you want to be a part of the chat, just get your phone out. Get your phone out and find us on YouTube, and you can just chat with us on your phone while you're also watching us on TV. We appreciate you all so much for doing that. But if you don't want to do that and you're watching us in some other way, and you can't have us on the chat on the phone, then you can just text us here and we'll read your question out loud. Some people already knew that, and so they sent in their questions. I'm going to read them now. But you can use this QR code that will just help pull up the number faster. Everyone's using QR codes, so we want to be cool. Use it too.
And is that how you say it? Use the QR code? Because I end up saying take a picture of the QR code. Okay, I
Yeah.
get it. You're not taking a picture. Like, what do you say? How do
Don't
you
say that.
What do you
You
do?
just use it.
How? Like, where's the sentence that says open your camera, move your camera over the QR code, and then click the yellow box? Like, none of that sentence says that's what you're supposed to do. I get it. That's what you're supposed to do, but that doesn't. We run into people all the time who have no clue, including me.
Because if you don't know, Donnell's birthday is in 3 days, and he is into his 50s now. You sound
Well
like
into
it.
my 50s. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Bruh. You sound in 50s right now with all of that rant about the QR codes. We're gonna keep him young and hip by using one QR code at a time, folks. We're gonna get him there. I think it's kind of a cool thing to be able to have faster access to stuff. But sometimes tech can get really confusing, like, Chat GPT and all of these different AI things. Some people feel very confused and very conflicted about it, while other people are like living in the year 3000 already compared to other people. So anyway, this is how you can get a hold of us. And so you can rewind if you didn't have time to catch that. Okay, so here is a question. What are the risks associated with real estate investing with a self-directed IRA? What rules should I be aware of? Are there any rules that I should be aware of?
Yep. So the first rule is who you're investing with and what that investment is going to be used for. So there are just some very simple rules to pay attention to. The first one is disqualified persons. There are some people that just cannot be involved with your retirement account. And look at it from this perspective. Why do you have the retirement account? The retirement account is designed to assist you in retirement and your beneficiaries. 9 times out of 10, who are your beneficiaries? They are your parents, your grandparents, your kids, your grandkids, and any of their spouses to include your own. So the disqualified persons are that straight line of individuals, you and your beneficiaries, potential beneficiaries. And so what that means is if you're looking to use your self-directed IRA or 401k to purchase a rental property, and you were thinking of putting your daughter in it, so instead of her paying rent to someone else, she paid rent back to your 401k. She can't because she's a disqualified person. But what I usually tell people is pay attention to who I didn't say. The disqualified persons are a straight line of individuals, grandparents, parents, kids, grandkids, their spouses to include your own. But I did not say brother, cousin, niece, nephew, me, friends, college roommates. Like there's a large list of people who don't exist in that straight line. So they are definitely not off limits. So that's one rule. The other is there are certain things you cannot invest in. I pulled up uh, the um, um, the non-traditional investments list. I didn't go over the list, but it's an extensive list, and it's not even exhausting list. Meaning, there's more there than I could have actually list. Meaning, I'd say your whatever you can think of 9 times out of 10, you can probably invest in it, with the exception of 3 things. And those 3 things are collectibles, not to be confused with precious metals. Collectibles, as in antique cars, antique paintings, stuff like that, baseball cards. S Corp shares, as in Sam, S Corp shares. You cannot use your retirement dollars to invest in S Corp shares. And the last one is insurance. We talk a lot about properly structured cash value life insurance policies. Your retirement account cannot directly invest in insurance, but your retirement account can indirectly invest in insurance. But I'd say those are the rules for the most part. Prohibited transactions, disqualified persons. Outside of that, rule wise, it's kind of wide open. There are a lot of gray areas in some vehicles. That's more we would have to get specific to. I'll call it your situation to kind of highlight anything beyond that. But I'd say those are the general rules to pay attention to.
They were asking about a self-directed IRA in particular, and you can't borrow from that. So, but you're
Well,
right.
right. So if that was the objective, meaning that not everyone who has a self-directed IRA wants to borrow from their retirement account. But you're absolutely correct. If you wanted to borrow from a self-directed IRA, can you? You cannot. So you can borrow from a self-directed 401k, but you cannot an IRA. It's the same for UBIT. If it's specific to the person. Another rule to be aware of is unrelated business income tax. But if you have zero plans on using your self-directed IRA and using leverage to invest in real estate, that's not a rule you have to be aware of. So I'd say some of those rules are more specific to the person.
One thing that somebody said right when you said it this weekend at the event, you were talking about if you take a personal loan from your self-directed 401k and you use it for a personal property, a primary residence, then you have 15 years to pay that back. And somebody else said that's your 15-year mortgage right there. They were talking to somebody else. And I guess we never really thought about it in that way, that it is like a 15-year mortgage, although this is, let's say you purchased a property that qualified for, with the amount that you 50% up to
$50,000.
$50,000. So it's not necessarily a whole mortgage for the majority of America. As we showed earlier, if you missed that, scrub back and we showed where you can go to find the average home values for this year, for last year, and 5 years ago, and where you can find that map, that interactive map. That was a cool thing to look at. There weren't any homes average values in the areas we were looking at for 50,000, but that doesn't mean that they don't exist. So again, it would have to be a primary residence, but the way that people were thinking in that room for them to just make that connection and go 15-year mortgage makes a lot of sense. If you're using that for, it didn't say for the whole house. It could have been
Right.
used for your down payment. It could have been used to buy down points. It could be used to buy a property that needed some rehab that was not something that you could move into right away, and you use those funds to be able to rehab it so that you could move in and as your primary residence. There's many different ways to tend and lots of ways to be creative. I think that's where the power is. If you can understand how to get creative within markets like we're seeing in these days. For some people, like the question that Rob was asking about liquidating your portfolio, one thing that I wanted to know is in regards to the new capital gains and unrealized gains taxes that people are experiencing, once this market starts to become a little shaky, questionable, people are starting to get scared, the first thing they're going to want to do is be able to liquidate, sell, and get out. So what do they do with those funds so that they can avoid having extra penalties or taxes applied to them? That's something that we can go into on another stream, of course. But are there ways that they can avoid it so that they understand that they can pivot if needed to? Are there ways for them to avoid these taxes and penalties?
Well, the cool part about a self-directed IRA or 401k is it's a tax advantaged vehicle. Meaning, if we're talking about traditional dollars, any liquidation of an asset to be able to move it into another vehicle, that's a penalty-free, tax-free transfer, but also the liquidation of that asset, even though there may be some capital gains or growth implication associated with it, because it's in a tax advantage vehicle, none of that applies. Now, it will apply later when you go to take a distribution in at retirement age. But as of today, as of right now, it's a tax advantage vehicle. So as long as everything stays inside that vehicle, that's not something that you have to be concerned with. Now, as we're talking about Roth is a whole nother beast, because Roth eliminates all of those issues when it's time for you to start taking a distribution. But it also applies the same if you're in a tax advantage vehicle and it happens to be Roth dollars that you're using, and there's some growth or some performance that may trigger a capital gains event. That capital gains doesn't apply in a Roth related vehicle either, whether you liquidate it, transfer it, or not. So
Yeah, and it's so good to know these things so that you understand the moves that you can make in an instant, because a lot of this stuff is out of our control, especially the money market. And knowing what we can do to protect ourselves helps us to feel confident about the decisions that we're making. So that's important. Okay, here's the time when we are going to spin for a boat. We're going to share in just a moment. So if you are watching and you haven't had a chance to jump in the chat, you have to jump in the chat in order to win. So I'm just prefacing that as the next thing that's coming up, so you have time to jump in. Oh, here we go. Put hashtag boat in the chat now. And everything that we talk about here on this channel, everything we're talking about today comes down to the decisions that we make, the smaller decisions that we're making that help us achieve that bigger picture, right? We ad nauseum over here talk about this, but it's the information that we have or don't that prevent us or propel us from those into those opportunities or from those opportunities, right? What we see when people are like, even in the chat right now, I'm seeing people go like, my mind is blown from today. I learned something completely new. I am feeling charged right now because of information. Like this is helping me see things in a different way. Now, I didn't identify opportunities before, but now that I'm thinking of it this way, now I can go around and say, hold on a second, that whole neighborhood, like, wouldn't it be dope to go back into this neighborhood and put life in this neighborhood, knowing that now I have access to a way to do that, right? It makes sense. It truly is a win-win now for me to be able to do that. Me and whoever else wants to join me, or if I can find a community that's already involved in things like that in my area. These are all of those decisions that we get to make. It's a privilege, right? To be able to make those because we have that perspective. And I think that's for our story anyway. And what we've achieved in a short amount of time was because we had access to information, which helped shape the perspective of where it is, not that we were going, but we could go. And that changed where we are navigating to, how we are getting there. All of those little tiny decisions along the way, asking ourselves this one, some people call it the one sentence solution. Will it make the boat go faster? Is this a goal that we really, really want to achieve? What is your goal? For this particular team and the story that we share, it was winning the gold medal, right? But what is a gold medal for you? Could be completely different. For us, Scott Myers asks us when we go to his events, what's our moonshot? He likes to ask everybody at this event, what's your moonshot? And everybody gets up there and shares what it is that they, like their ultimate goal. What is that for you that you really truly are aiming for? When we've been here many times, and each time that we've been able to hear people share, for some, it is the first time that they've even ever thought of a goal that big. Then they thought, gosh, I was thinking of this was my goal. But then after hearing other people, I realized I was actually thinking so small. I need to make my goal bigger because I wasn't thinking of it in a way that felt scary to me. The goal that feels like I'm the only one who believes that I can do this, right? It's just me and God. We're the only ones who know that this is about to go down. Doesn't matter what anybody else believes about me. This is the thing that I believe about myself that I can achieve or I want to be able to achieve. For some people, they pick their goal as something that they can math today. I would say that's fair, right? That's fair.
Right. I can only see this far, right?
Right. Yeah. But when you get information, all of a sudden you go, could I go farther?
Right.
Is wealth the important? Is it a dollar amount that's important? Is it stuff and things? Is it lifestyle that's important? For some people, the answer is yes, no judgment. For others, the answer is no judgment. But I will ask you why. And I will ask you, is the relationship with your answer and the relationship that you have with the goals that you set for yourself rooted in what you believe about money, what you believe about what's possible, what you believe about yourself based on the people who you grew up with or the area that you grew up in or whatever the programming was? Peel those layers back. Peel them back. You deserve it. Those around you deserve it. Anybody who is dependent on you deserves it. We're going into a different area. Our world is growing exponentially, and we have to grow too. And so that's why we give away this boat. And that's why we are building a community. And that's why all this matters. So I'm going to find it now. Had it. You know, this thing like resets, and I'm like, I can't even see it. Where is it?
We'll get it.
Where is it? No. It's not here. Sorry, guys. Oh, I found it. Okay. So that's why we shared this story, because it's a perfect visual of this particular question in action and how it really worked if you are committed. So if you're not in the chat and you haven't won a boat, get in here so you can put #boat in the chat, and then we'll spin as soon as this video is done. And if you have already won a boat, but you're here with us, you deserve another. You give it to somebody. Share this sentiment with them because you understand how powerful it is. And tell us, what are you doing with your boat? Where is it? How does it remind you? And how do you actively use that every day? So here is why we ask, Will this make the boat go faster? In 1998, a British rowing team dreaming of the Olympic gold found themselves ranked 7th. Their focus had always been on the competition day, but they realized the keys to reaching their highest potential were hiding in the decisions that they'd make over those next 2 years.
Faced with two obvious choices, continue their current path and expect the same result, or give up, they discovered a third transformative option. They united under one guiding question: will it make the boat go faster? Every decision, every action was weighed against this mantra. If the answer was yes, they could or would have to do it.
If the answer was no, it was forbidden, non-negotiable. Prior to the competition, this team was doubted and ridiculed, but no one knew what they had been doing. And once they hit the water, they were nearly unrecognizable, achieved their pinnacle, and won the gold. So we ask you,
What is your goal? What are you willing to do to achieve it?
will your story feel unrecognizable, even to you? Are you willing to light your beacon and stay focused, stay committed? Is your story non-negotiable, or are you waiting to find out how you ranked? Your financial future is not a game. You are only competing with yourself and those in the boat with you, your family and the many generations to come.
Will this make the boat go faster? A sounding alarm, a beacon of clarity amidst turbulent life decisions.
It's not just about speed, but direction, purpose, and an unwavering commitment. Every choice, every sacrifice aimed at the goal.
The first agreement this team made was to become fully self-directed, making their health their wealth, adopting a new perspective on their time and freedom, and the decisions they could fully control to reach their goal.
Will we make your boat go faster? That is our pledge to you. Our mission is to arm you with knowledge, strategies, and insights to ensure that not only you reach the goal, but you do so long before your race is over. Hey.
Need some music.
Supposed to put us at the boat. There we go. All right. Hey, okay, we got some new people in the chat. So we like to see.
Did I already win?
Let's spin. Who's first? We got a few to give away. We didn't do it on Wednesday. Yeah, we definitely want to know. Hey. Did we already meet this person? Are you frozen?
I was. Not anymore.
I don't even know how to pronounce this. I don't want to mess it
Mignon.
up.
Mignon. I've met with her and her husband several times.
Oh, okay. All right, so you already know. Well, congratulations on your boat. That's what's up. Who else is going to win? Oh, I forgot to put the thing up. Go here to claim your boat. Here, self-directed.info/live or /winner. You could do that too. And tell us where to send it. And we will get your boat in the mail to you. Let's see who else won the boat. Oh, okay. I was trying to make sure that the new people got in here, but they fixed it so it automatically... Again, hold on a second. Go play the lottery. Get picked more than one time. Are you frozen again?
Bro.
Golly. Hey, Scott.
Congratulations, Scott.
That's what's up. Scott's giving away boats. Scott and Sequia boat gifters. Hey. All right, let's try to get a new person in here. You know what happens if we keep getting the same people? I knew it, but you know what we gotta do? We gotta do what we gotta do. Here we go. We gotta pick different music. Works every time. Hasn't failed me yet. Except for today. Okay. We'll change it up again. I just want a new person to win. Maybe what we'll do is we'll just say, put a new person's name in the chat and we'll put them. Hey! Zinsperity.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Okay. If you didn't win a boat, come back and win on our next stream. One for my hubby, please. Shay Shay. That was it. That's what we decided, right? Shay Shay. Shay Shay. Row, row, row the boats. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We know that time is the most valuable resource and asset that we have, and you're spending it here with us, and that means a lot to us. So we really appreciate you and your time. Please come back and win a boat. We give these away all the time just because we want everyone to have one. The sentiment of this, and bring the people with you. Bring somebody with you to win a boat as well. Maybe we'll do a couple's boating. I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah. Sounds bring it on a date night.
Yeah.
Bring a date and get a boat. It's a boat ride. Okay. Well, anywho, we won't make this go longer. I don't think we've missed any questions.
I think we're good.
Yep, I think we are good. So give us a like if you found value in this live stream. Subscribe if you're new here so that you can, and hit the notification bell so that you can get the notifications when we do go live or when we post a video. We have been trying to do better about editing our live streams so that we can get the value out of them, cut all of the fluff and the fat out just so that you can have that for a replay experience, a better replay experience, or that they're easier to reference when you're trying to share them out with somebody. If you have any other ideas or requests, though, we've had some really great ones from our community. And speaking of community, jump inside of our Facebook group. You can go to selfdirected.info/live. That is where you'll also find access to our group. We're just collecting there. This is where you can ask questions. This is where when we do have the Saturday sessions, we kind of promote them inside of this group. If you have any, hey guys, I'm in Texas, I'm in North Carolina, and what bank are you using, or what current offers are you seeing out there right now? This is a great place to be able to do that inside of this community. We'd love to have you join us. Okay, so all on that note, we like to end with, if you didn't come from a wealthy family,
You can make sure a wealthy family comes from you.
So stay tuned,
Stay protected.
stay focused.
Stay connected.
I'm Angelique,
And I'm Donnell.
and our goal is to help you.
Get self-directed.
And to do that, we have a ton of free resources. Please don't sleep on those. We're working to improve them and increase them all the time. So here's how to get them, and we will see you back here next week. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Hey, before you go, we want to remind you that becoming fully self-directed means gaining complete control over your wealth, time, and freedom. It's not just an idea. It's a framework, a mindset, and the power to make informed decisions to secure your future. Being here means you're taking those steps, and we want to thank you for allowing us to guide you. We believe that we grow farther and faster when we grow together. So tune in next time and tell a friend to tell a friend. We've helped thousands of people just like you start their journey to financial freedom. And if they can do it, you can too. And if you're ready to learn more, we got you. Get a head start by grabbing these 2 free books. But how do they get them, Donnell?
Head over to my website where you'll have access to a few things. A ton of free resources, case studies, and over 100 5-star reviews from people just like you. And in 15 minutes, we can explore what's possible for you. So don't wait.
Invest in what you want, when you want.
But first, let us help you get
Get self-directed.